How vulnerable are the Warriors right now?
I mean, the question is, they're just bored. I mean, the hardest thing to do is when you had so much success is to fight human nature, which is complacency. I mean, because they won. I mean, they had motivation. Think about the first championship, it was, well, they're too young. They shouldn't be here. They didn't play against San Antonio. They didn't play against the Clippers. They got through a Cleveland team. They had motivation. And then when Cleveland beat them, they came back the next year. It was KD had to prove something. Golden State had to prove something because Cleveland beat them, so they had something to push them. I think this is where Steve Kerr comes in and has to dig into that box, that crate, Shannon, Phil Jackson, Popovich, to figure out something that's going to motivate this team besides winning a championship, which should be ultimately. But even as professionals as Draymond and Steph and Clay and Kevin are, they're going to have to find something else that's going to motivate them to push them to really be able to concentrate. Because I'll tell you what, if they have to play OKC in the first round, forget about the physical part of that game. The mental aspect of what it's going to take for Golden State to win because of everything that revolves around KD and Russell, and you're not ready, mentally focused.
Yep.
I'm not saying that they're going to lose, but it's going to be a different kind of challenge for this team this year.
Agreed.
Which is okay. I mean, you know what I mean? It's okay, but it's different when you win. You got to figure a different way to motivate yourself.
They're very vulnerable because of Steph. They're not winning a title without Steph. And the thing is that when you look at it, if they mess around and they have to go OKC or Minnesota with that big lineup with Towns and Taj Gibson and Jimmy Butler and Wiggins and Dang, they go big at you. OKC come at you with Russ. Now, Russ is not going to have to chase Steph Curry. So all his energy will be on offensive
end. Yeah, definitely.
They're very vulnerable right now. Because you remember last year, Skip, they were 12-0. They were never even challenged on their way to the finals.
Nope.
12-0. They will not be 12-0 going to this final. They're going to have a lot of dents in that armor if they were to make it. But without Steph Curry, they are very, very vulnerable. And they will not win a title without Steph.
Really?
And you see what's been going on without old Steph Curry. Old 500. With old Steph, 5-9 without old Steph. 5-9 without old Steph. The best player on the planet. Got his pockets picked twice by True Holiday and Rajon Rondo at the end of the game.
He did?
Because the best, he wasn't
What did
playing.
he score in that game? 41 with 10 rebounds?
Joy, where did he come? My restaurant, I served him up. I served him up a couple of that.
Hold on, what is that?
You know,
that ain't that.
I keep the napkin on there to keep that smell down.
It's ginger.
I know it is.
Keep that
I know it is.
That smell down.
Dana White brought him that was that Hennessy you got?
Yeah.
Still ain't been open.
I done popped that several times. When he body bag naked, gonna get me something.
So I'll go this far. In the finals, Golden State will have a hard time with the Sixers. I will agree with you on that.
Now he's going back there. We're going back with that. We're talking about them.
I just want to see see if you're paying attention.
Yeah, we're paying attention. Sixers in the finals.
I'm with Jim Jackson. Golden State is just bored. Maybe Golden State's a little gun-shy because they've had so many injuries of everybody else that could challenge LeBron along the super highway to the finals. But it's been over for so long because Houston just pulled away and it was over. And Portland is no threat to come up from behind, so they're just sitting there treading water, waiting for, are we there yet, to be over. Because when it's over, they'll start to play. And that 7-foot monster, he is a monster. And look, they had one game where they had a chip on their shoulder. One game, the 7-foot monster got challenged. It was not too long ago on April 3rd in Oklahoma City. Remember what happened that night? 34-10 happened from that 7-foot monster named Kevin Durant against his old co-star Russell Westbrook, who also had a monster night, but it wasn't enough to overcome the monster who is Kevin Durant.
But that's your team. You say you like them.
Well, I'm with Jim on that. Boy, if they clash head on, if they run headlong into each other in the first round, look out. I'd still have to be slight on Golden State just because I still think they're the favorite to win it all because even without Steph Curry, it would be some theater.
Know.
This is one
I
would
might take OKC. Without Steph?
No, wait. Yeah, okay. Here's the thing, too. Isn't it ironic, too, that now this team, we've seen this in the past with let's say, a San Antonio team that gave up home court advantage because they figured once they get into the playoffs, we'll figure out. Even the Cavs, from the perspective of LeBron not holding serve to home court because you had a team in front of you that was more determined to show that they needed to have the number one seed. So you got Houston right now on that same track to kind of prove, because James Harden, I think this is huge for James Harden and Chris Paul, and even Mike D'Antoni from that perspective this year to prove all of together they can beat a Golden State team. So I think in the long run, I think it helps this Golden State team because they got to deal with injuries, which they hadn't had to deal with before. How do you deal through that adversity? How do you navigate through not having a full lineup and a full repertoire? So if you go into OKC against Russ, I mean, and without a healthy Steph, and we've seen the pace of play is so much different. And I tell you, with Steph, Katie is so good. But that pace of play, you go from first with Golden State when Steph is playing to 14th when he's out. Right. But you can see it in the lineup. You can see how they play. That Steph gives you that push, and without that push,
obviously.
You go forced to play half-court situations.
Even without Steph, so you got KD and Clay and Draymond. Have you looked at the depth on this team lately? And again, they're all bored. They don't come to play every night.
Quinn Cook is playing exceptionally well.
Okay, but look at this. Iguodala, Sean Livingston, JaVale, Nick Young, David West, Kevon Looney, and those two kids, Jordan Bell and Damian Jones from Vanderbilt University, they can play. You know they can play, and I know. And, boy, they come in waves, and they do share the ball, and I love their system, and it's hard to bet
a
against
highly
that
motivated
system.
Russ in the first round against the Golden State Warriors.
He'd be a terror.
35-point triple-double a night.
Okay.
Take them down.
Yeah, how much do we want to put on that?
Whatever you – hello, that was your team.
I know, but I didn't say – if they run headlong into that team, I got to go with that team. I like them against everybody else.
OKC?
Yeah. But if they first round with no Steph, that'd be a battle.
Yeah. I got OKC.
You got OKC? You know, one thing I will say is that people try to mimic over the years the Golden State Warriors and how we're going to manipulate the lineup. But I think the issue you have is that Golden State has 7, 8, 9 high IQ players.
They do.
Which allows you now, when you go into your second unit, it doesn't drop off as much. Maybe the talent
Iggy
drops
and
off,
Sean Livingston?
but right here it doesn't. A lot of teams can't go that deep into the high IQ category.
I agree.
And that's where I give Golden State the edge, even with the Steph out, that those guys still understand how to play.
That pressure ain't there. You never relax with Steph Curry's on the court.
No, that's true. That's true.
You just don't want to see Golden State knock the king out again.
Whoa.
Again.
Give
him another loss. It's like not fair. They should just call it off.
The thing with LeBron James, we don't worry about the bridge until we get to it.
Then
we got to worry about it.
Golden Gate Bridge.
Is Odell now on his best behavior? We'll discuss that next. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.